Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. Thank you for riding along today. You know, I record this podcast about 2 weeks before it's released. I try to do one every 6 days. That way I get a little bit ahead in case something comes up and I can't record one for a couple of weeks. I'm not caught where I don't get to release it on Wednesday. So anyway, we had a snowstorm yesterday that produced about maybe a little over a foot of wet snow. It's nothing like up in the Colorado Rocky Mountains where the snow is all powder. You talk about the skiers skiing in that deep powder. Well, that's nothing like we have here. It was so heavy I scooped a little of my porch and the sidewalk and stuff here, and it was just half water. But the wind was blowing so hard and the trees were all bent over, and I guess up in the city a bunch of trees broke, and now they're calling for 11 degrees below zero here in a couple days. I've always said zero here is like 20, 30 below back home in that dry climate. And so 11 below is going to be very, very bitter and almost indescribable how it will zap it right out of you with this humidity we have here in the Midwest. So really looking forward to that. Everyone was saying that we weren't going to have any winter at all just a couple of weeks ago. Right around Christmas time and New Year's, everybody was running around here in short sleeves and no jacket and all that stuff. Well, here we are. Winter in the Midwest could be very, very severe with blizzard conditions. Anyway, we're well into the new year now. 31st of January. It's plugging right along. Most of you have had opportunities now to have broken your New Year's resolutions, if you've made them. I don't make New Year's resolutions anymore because I like to stay true to my word. I talked about this a few weeks ago in our New Year's edition of Baby Boomer Tales podcast. How I'm just not a big fan of resolutions because resolutions are made to be broken. That's the old saying. So why even do it? And I went through a bunch of stuff that if you're going to make resolutions, make them daily, make them hourly. When you see yourself lacking in something, resolve to be better at that. You'll be glad you did. Well, let's cover some of these popular resolutions that people make. I'm going to kind of make fun of it or tell you how I handle it or try to put a different spin on it or something. I've got to do this lickety-split though because all of a sudden I don't have that much more time left in this. So here goes. I hope this works out okay. First one everybody seems to do is I'm going to exercise more. So I started thinking about this and I exercise. By golly, I exercise. Now, I'm not talking about shoveling that old, cold, wet, heavy snow and all that stuff. I'm talking about things like taking a shower. Think about it. Take a shower, okay? You're raising your arms so you can lather up underneath your arms, you know, the armpits. And you're doing deep knee bends, trying to wash your feet and your legs and your backside and all that stuff. When you shampoo your head, you have your arms raised and you're doing this kind of a deal where you're doing side by sides and all that stuff. Then you have to rinse and maybe lather again. Now, I don't support doing two things of shampoo. I think that's a shampoo maker's idea to sell twice as much shampoo. One time should be enough unless you're covered in grease or mud or something, you know. I used to sell major appliances like washers and dryers, and the washing machine manufacturers would tell us that the soap companies recommend too much soap, that too much soap is actually detrimental to getting your clothes clean, that you should put in about half as much as the manufacturer of the soap recommends, because they're trying to sell more laundry detergent. Same way with shampoo. So taking a shower is very good exercise, and that's the exercise I get, by golly. Lose weight. Now this goes along with exercise in some sort of way, but everyone goes on these keto diets or some kind of fattish diet, and you gotta deprive yourself of everything, and next thing you know, within 2 or 3 weeks, you're eating at the McDonald's. You've broken your resolution. All I can say is eat stuff that's good for you. Eat in moderation. Don't deny yourself something or you will resent yourself. Have a good time. Just use some common sense there. I try to limit my consumption of soda pop and desserts and sugar and seconds, But if I want it, I'm going to have it. I just weigh myself every morning and it keeps me in check. Read more. I have to read when I edit this. I have to read all the things about, do I want to make my voice better or worse? I know it can't get much worse. Well, it could, really, believe me, it could get worse. But I listen to audiobooks. And my ritual that I do before I go to sleep is I listen to some music with headphones on. Then I read the Bible and I use an audio of someone's reading it to me, but I follow along. I'm a good boy. But then I read a book, and the way I read a book is an audio book. I haven't physically read a book for quite a while, ever since I discovered audiobooks, and it's kind of getting to be a challenge because of my hearing, but I still prefer it that way. It's just easy, especially when I'm driving. That's my favorite time to listen to an audio book. Get organized. All I can say there is pick up after yourself and you won't have to try to be organized. You walk into somebody's house and their clothes are all over the floor. Dishes are just stacked up everywhere. Maybe the milk's out and it's warm. Whatever. Looks like teenagers live in there. Just pick up after yourself. You will not have to struggle about being organized if you just pick up after yourself. Try it. You may like it. It just takes a little bit of effort, really. If you just do it as you're going along, it's not a big job. If you let it pile up for a few weeks, it's almost an impossible task. Pick up after yourself. Start a gratitude journal, whatever that is. The way I journal, I think, is this podcast. But if you want to write something every day, maybe tell yourself how thankful you are for friends, neighbors, loved ones, your job, your place you live, etc., etc. That's wonderful. I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying I do a podcast. Build a better budget or build a budget. If you spend more than you make, if you make $1 million a year, and you spend $1.5 million a year, you're broke. If you make $25,000 a year and you spend $24,500, you are not broke. You are doing well. It's all in your perspective. So remember that if you spend more than you make, you're broke. A good way to keep from doing that is figure out how much you have to take to eat, for clothing, for housing, for gas, etc. It can be very, very simple. 10 items. 10 items. Kind of keep track of it a little if you can. It's not a big deal if you do it like getting organized, just as you go along. I highly recommend that. Quit smoking. I tackled this a month ago when we talked about New Year's resolutions. I am amazed that people still are smoking. I just don't see it. Too much. I mean, I see it, but I really haven't had anyone blow smoke in my face in a very long time. And I don't see that many cigarette butts around. But it's out there, and I guess vaping is a new thing, and that's really worse for you than the nicotine and tar and all that stuff you get in a Parliament cigarette. I smoked for several years when I was young. I've talked about this. And up until about 15 years ago, if I saw someone smoking and how they inhale, I caught myself inhaling, kind of taking that little deep breath, real quick deep breath. You know how they do to get that smoke in their lungs before they blow it out through their nose? Not a nice habit, not healthy for you at all. So quit smoking. If that's your desire, unless you're smoking hot, then that's a whole nother deal. Learn a new skill. Whatever it is, how simple you may think. Nothing's too hard or too difficult for you to actually try, especially if it interests you. If you're interested in something, don't let intimidation of the unknown keep you from trying it. You may learn something you really enjoy. And here's the last one. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, this is the last one. My ninth one, this is resolution number 9. Cut back on social media. Goes without saying. I made fun of a bunch of this stuff, and it's really not a laughing matter, really. It's not a joke, but I like to joke around. Can't we all just get along? Can't we all just take a joke? But here's some of the things that I think is very, very important. And it doesn't have to be a resolution unless you're doing a daily, hourly, minute resolving to make things better around you. Make your life better. Drink more water. Forgive even when it seems impossible. Stay in touch with those you care about. Return your shopping cart. Put stuff back where you found it, even in a store. If you picked up some bologna and later you decided that you'd rather have pimento loaf, put the bologna back where you found it. Don't put it over there with the bread. Goodness gracious, don't do that. Some kid working the store is told to put stuff back, and that thing's laid there for 3 days, and he puts it back in the bologna department. Now you come along and you buy it, and now you have a problem. So think about others. Think about yourself. Open the door for someone. Be generous. Eat at home more, and if that's all you do is eat at home, then go out to a restaurant once in a while. Listen more and speak less. Write a love letter, even if it's to yourself or to God, or to your folks that's dead and gone. Write a love letter. Find out what's on the inside of you. So start each day with a grateful heart and always be kind. I will be back next Wednesday. Resolution number 9. Resolution number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Peace out. And now for another edition of Forky and Earl. Hello? Forky? Hello, Earl. What are you doing? I just want to know if you want to come to my house and we'll sled down the hill. I don't have a sled, Earl. That's okay, Forky. I've got a sled. I'll be up in 20 minutes, Earl. I'll get the sled ready, Forky. So Forky told his mom he was going to Earl's house, and he walked up the hill. When he got to the top of the hill and he walked up Earl's driveway, he saw Earl out there putting wax on the runners of the sled. Forky said, "Earl, what are you doing?" Earl said, "I'm going to make this sled go fast, Forky." Well, Forky looked at Earl. Earl looked at Forky, and Forky said, "Don't you have 2 sleds, Earl?" Earl said, "Well, I do, but I've got a big plan." Forky said, "I'm not sure I like your big plans." Earl said, "We're gonna set a world record for how fast 2 guys can go down that hill, and maybe we can get all the way to Main Street, Forky." Forky said, "Earl, who's gonna ride in front and who's gonna ride on the back?" Earl said, "Forky, you're going to ride on the back because I know how to negotiate that curve." Forky said, "Wouldn't it be better if we both had a sled and we laid on our belly instead of sitting on that sled, Earl?" Earl said, "It might be better, but this will be exhilarating." Forky looked at Earl. Forky said, "Where did you get that $3 word, Earl?" Earl said, Somebody told me. I think I saw it on TV. Well, Forky and Earl got the sled all ready, and the runners were all waxed just like you wax some skis, and it was ready to go. Well, Earl sat on the sled first and put his boots real hard on the ground, said, "Okay, Forky, you get on behind me and you hold on tight, and when we turn those turns, you have to lean into the turn, Forky." Forky said, "Gotcha, Earl. I hope we don't crash." Earl said, "I hope we don't crash neither, Forky, but if we do, maybe we'll be okay." And Forky said, "What about the intersection at the foot of the hill?" And Earl said, "What about it, Forky?" And Forky said, "What if a car's coming, Earl?" And Earl said, "Well, we could have my mom stand down there, but that's just for sissies, Forky." Forky said, "I'm not a sissy, Earl." And Earl looked at Forky, and Forky looked back at Earl, and Earl said, "I know you're not, and neither am I. Let's go." So Forky and Earl started off on their big adventure, sliding down the driveway ever so slow. And then they turned right, and Earl said, "Lean into the turn, Forky." And they just had enough to get where the hill was going down. And Earl said, "Here we go, Forky." And they went down the first hill, and here comes the intersection, and they had to turn left to go down the big hill. And Earl said, "Lean, Forky, lean, Forky." And Forky said, "I'm leaning, Earl, I'm leaning, Earl." And they negotiated the turn, and they started going faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And oh, help! Earl said, "Head on, Forky! Head on, Forky! This is a world record!" And they went down the hill so fast, and Forky and Earl was hanging on for dear life. And finally they started to slow down. And Earl said, "I hope we can make it to Main Street, Forky." And Forky said, "How much farther? My eyes are closed." Earl and Forky made it all the way to the dairy building and didn't quite make it to Main Street. The end.